The more desperate you are to reset your nervous system, the more sensitized it stays. This is the reason why nothing you've tried has worked so far. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to reset a hypersensitive nervous system and why everything you've been doing so far has actually been teaching it to stay on high alert. Let's talk about what a hypersensitive nervous system even is. And you tell me if any of this sounds familiar. It is a system that is stuck on high alert, which means that it is reading thoughts, pain, sensations, all as a threat. So with a sensitized nervous system, you aren't spiking from a baseline of calm. The spiked response is where your system lives 24/7. Chronic hypervigilance creates chronic symptoms. And the longer your body stays in that alarm mode, the more it keeps cranking out the symptoms that come along with it. Chronic hypervigilance can be created from a number of things. Sometimes it's one big event, maybe a trauma or a health scare that you just never kind of came back down from. And sometimes it's like a slow build of chronic stress, burnout, grief, postpartum, or just decades of overriding your needs to keep everyone around you happy. But what does this actually look like within your body and within your mind? It can show up as constant tension in your body, like a constant bracing, a racing heart, insomnia, digestive issues, dizziness, intrusive thoughts, like overstimulation in your body, or waking up anxious before you have even opened your eyes. This is what I refer to as a sensitized nervous system. If you are not sure if your system is quite sensitized, I have linked a really easy, really quick free quiz in the description of this video. And so if you experience issues with your nervous system, there's a very good chance that you have tried a lot of nervous system tools and techniques that are out there that are marketed as the solve for nervous system dysregulation. But why do regulation tools stop working when your system becomes chronically hypersensitive or sensitized? Because those tools are built to bring you back to a baseline that for you with a sensitized nervous system does not exist. We don't have that baseline level of peace. We have an elevated baseline of stress and activation. So when we face any threat or any actual danger or any type of trigger, we are instantly pushed over the edge because we live so close to it. And that urgency that you feel, that panic you feel to reach for the tool or the technique or something that brings you relief is the very thing that continues to keep this alarm on. And what I've seen for both myself and the people that I've worked with is that most sensitized people end up using regulation tools in a compulsive manner. So whether that's breathing techniques, EFT, meditation, visualization, we are normally reaching for them when we feel bad, when we have sensations, when our pain flares. We immediately are like, okay, what's a tool that can make this go away, make it stop? And that compulsive energy behind the use of the tool, the panic, the fear, this feeling like you have to do something ASAP is the problem. Your system reads that desperation to feel better as more evidence that something is seriously wrong. So how do you actually reset a hypersensitive nervous system? If it's not a tool, if it's not a technique, if it's not a method of something, what do you do? I'm going to talk about one thing that causes the biggest change within the nervous system because you don't need to regulate your nervous system. You need to full on retrain the whole thing. So what we're going to focus on, because in this video, I want you walking away from this feeling like I have something that I can implement today to move forward with resetting my nervous system. So what we're going to do is we are going to focus on the response to what we are experiencing. We are going to work on how we are responding to our symptoms. We're not going to focus on changing our state. We're not going to focus on making things go away. We are going to focus on our relationship to what we're experiencing at any given moment. And this applies to anything that is caused by nervous system sensitization. This can be symptoms like dizziness, like anxiety. It can be pain. It can be thoughts. It can be intrusive thoughts, rumination, OCD focuses, anything. All of those things are driven by a nervous system that is so hypersensitive that it's constantly living in a threat state. And if we want that to change, we have to start modeling safety. And the way I'm going to talk about that today is in our response to what our nervous system is interpreting as dangerous. Your system, especially when it is so sensitized, is learning from your response. It doesn't really care like what special tools you're using. It really measures the energy with which you do anything. And most of what we're doing is coming from an energy of panic and despair and urgency and trying to escape whatever we're doing in the moment, whatever we're feeling in the moment. And unfortunately, when it's in that state, it's almost like it's working off of faulty information because it's assuming that everything is a threat. And for most of us, if we look around the room, if we look at where we're at, even if our symptoms are screaming, even if we're in an immense amount of pain, we aren't actually in danger. But our normal current responses are freaking out, fixing, panicking, calling someone for reassurance, just fervently seeking Reddit for an answer of how to get out of it. We shrink our life. We cancel our plans. We don't say yes to things. It shrinks because our goal becomes just staying safe and avoiding any trigger. And that just further trains the system. And that's why I use the word retrain, because we actually have trained our system into the symptoms that we're experiencing. That doesn't mean we did it on purpose. Obviously, nobody would want to experience the symptoms of sensitization. But when you understand the way the brain works, you can realize that you are either training it in one direction, more symptoms by more fear and more focus and attention, or less symptoms by responding in a way that tells the nervous system through behavior change, nothing to see here, move along. We don't need to focus on what's happening in our body. We don't need to focus on the scary thoughts in our brain. So I want to give you some really practical examples of some of the things that I hear the most from students. One of them is the heart, the things that happen with the heart, tachycardia, heart palpitations, the heart stuff that is related to anxiety. I want you to think about how you currently respond to that. And this is going to be both in your emotional response, fear, freaking out, and then your behavioral response, like checking your pulse or checking your blood pressure or, trying to find your pulse, all the things that you actively do in response to a sensation that you're feeling. So next time that happens, don't check your pulse. Don't Google what is a normal pulse. Keep doing what you were doing. Let it race, let it miss beats, let it double thump, let it do whatever it's going to do. Or what about an intrusive thought spiral? You have these thoughts that come out of nowhere. They're very scary to you. They're very frightening to you. You oftentimes go to try to solve them, or you go to convince yourself that they're not true, or convince yourself why you would never do something like that, or panicking about them, or asking someone else if that's true, or if they think that you would do something like that, or trying to remove the guilt, saying that you wouldn't do something like that. Those are all behaviors that we take when we have these intrusive thoughts. Those are behaviors that are keeping the alarm going. So next time it happens, don't try to solve it. Don't try to reframe it. Don't try to figure out what it means. Let the thought be the thought and go back to the task at hand. And I just want to really quickly, before I get into the other examples, say that if there are not tasks at hand, if there are not things to engage your focus and your attention on, if you use all of your time to focus on healing, to focus on your symptoms, to focus on getting better, your brain is going to default to your symptoms. It is important that you have other things to focus on and engage with. Otherwise, just know your brain, it's not going to have anywhere else to go. It's going to default to what is my body doing? It's going to default to panicking. It's going to default to reinforcing those very same loops that we're trying to break. Okay, what if a new symptom pops up? It's a new pain symptom. Suddenly your ankle's hurting, but normally you only have pain in your, face. You don't need to look it up. You don't need to ask anybody. You don't need to ask ChatGPT. You can pretty safely assume this is sensitization until proven otherwise. I had so many random symptoms. And I was so glad that I had already leaned into this work of desensitizing my nervous system, because the way they showed up was absolutely insane. If I didn't have the knowledge that I had, if I didn't understand that a sensitized nervous system can throw out any symptom that you can imagine. Some of them lasted days, some of them lasted months, some of them lasted over a year. They were always changing. There were always new ones. Many of them were very, very scary if I didn't also have the knowledge of sensitization. That doesn't mean that they weren't initially frightening. Do not shame yourself or guilt yourself if you have something new that pops up and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't do this again. I can't do this symptom. One of the ways I prevented many of these symptoms from locking on was being very careful with how I responded to them. I already knew the way that this worked. So when I had some random numbness on the back of my calf for a week straight, constantly burning and buzzing, I thought, well, that's just none of my business, huh? Because what am I going to do about it? I didn't give it focus. I didn't have attention on it. That doesn't mean I didn't notice it, but I knew what to do with that information. If I noticed it, oh, well, anyways, sounds like that's there. Back to life, back to engaging in something. So we're not jumping in to solve these symptoms. If you're having a pretty good day and suddenly anxiety just hits you completely out of nowhere, don't stop what you were doing. Don't sit down to try to manage it. Keep folding the laundry. Keep doing the email. Go and pick up your kids from school. We have to stop stopping our life when our symptoms show up. The more we do that, the more we get to a point where we're just not doing anything. And then guess what? Our full-time job, our full-time focus becomes symptoms, thoughts, feelings, focusing on me, focusing on healing, making it your full-time job, and then in time, unfortunately, your full-time identity. Ask me how I know. If you wake up anxious, do not analyze why. Go ahead, get on up, get ready, brush your teeth, go make your coffee. We have to stop checking in with our body to say, okay, body, what's next? Remember, it's working off of that false information. It's working off of the assumption across the board, everything is dangerous. So we have this hypervigilant focus on, okay, well, I need to watch out for the danger. And it's like, well, this is the danger, and clothes are the danger, and bending over is the danger, and going out is a danger, and driving a car is danger. Everything is danger. Those things are not dangerous. They just feel dangerous. In order for you to reset your nervous system, you will have to begin responding in a way that tells the nervous system leaving the house is not dangerous. Because we're willing to leave the house and take the panic with us. We're willing to stand up and let the dizziness be there. We're willing to do things even though our nervous system is going to sound the alarms. That's its job. Our job is, how are you responding to the alarms? What is your response to your nervous system's response? When you have a hypervigilant response, a hypersensitive response to your hypersensitive nervous system, you loop it again. And you loop it again, and we loop until our brain is like, don't even worry about me. I've got this. We have memorized pain. We have memorized symptoms. We have memorized progression. We have memorized blowing this out of proportion way more than we need to. And we do that unintentionally with our focus, with our fear, with our attention. It's because we're constantly feeding these things energy. And when we do that, they get stronger in the brain and in the body. I want to give you guys a heads up really quick. These examples sound very simple. They sound too simple to actually do anything. And then what you'll find immediately following the, oh, that's too simple, is the, oh, I can't do that. I'm not ready. I can't. I have XYZ reason why that's impossible for me. I assure you, every person who ever recovered from chronic symptoms had to get back into life before they felt ready. They had to get back into life before they felt brave, before they felt confident. I feel like I'm saying this so often in my content because it's so important, and because I've been there, and because I know how real it feels to feel like it's impossible for you to do. When really the truth is, I am so scared about how I will feel if I engage in that thing. I'm so scared of how I will feel if I do that thing and it feels terrible to do, or it makes my symptoms worse. And when you're in this process, you have to be willing to accept whatever comes along with it, which oftentimes will include new symptoms, worsening symptoms. I want you to watch how quickly your brain just writes it off and says, that won't work for you. My situation is different. I can't do that. You are an adult who is responsible to realize where you're at right now and what it would look like to go past that a little bit. That doesn't mean you dive in head first and try to just go balls to the wall of who you used to be and how you used to do it. For many of us, as this whole healing process continues, we have to make changes to the way we were even living before we got sick or before we got chronic symptoms. So that is not what I'm asking you to do. But to think that you can just wait until you're ready to do these things that you are really scared to do, to respond in a different way, to let something be there without doing something about it, to go somewhere and take your symptoms of your hypersensitive nervous system with you. Nobody gets that luxury. Every single person must move forward whenever you're ready, because it's all up to us to do this work with whatever is there for you for that day. And then do that again and again and again and again and again and again and again, every single day, over and over, varying degrees of intensity and symptoms and all of that. And we just keep moving forward. The resistance to ideas like this is the pattern of sensitization in itself. And catching the default response of like, oh, I can't do that, and just shutting it down is part of the retraining. So to summarize, what we've talked about in this video and what you can do today is to stop treating every thought, feeling, sensation, symptom, pain as a problem that needs solving right now. Let it be there. Keep moving forward with whatever you had going on for your day. Keep living, and know that by design, this will feel scary and it will feel dangerous, because that's part of your nervous system's job. It's trying to make these things feel absolutely not doable because it believes that if you do it, you're putting yourself in danger. So it just cranks up the volume on these alarms. Like, they scream at you, and we hear that and we feel it, and we listen to it in our brain and we go, oh, that's a sign that I can't do this. It's impossible for me. It's just your nervous system putting the brakes on you doing anything that could be dangerous for you. But again, if it thinks everything is dangerous, it's going to attempt to not let you do anything. And it's going to do that by cranking up the fear, cranking up the symptoms. And it's our job to say, nope, I know how this works. I know what's going on here. I'm going to stay focused on this very simple yet very challenging to execute task at hand, which is changing the way that I interact and respond to whatever I'm feeling in the moment. It's going to be a variety of different things. Do not worry about what specific things they are. I don't care if it's looping thoughts. I don't care if it's rumination. I don't care if it's intrusive thoughts. I don't care if it's pain. I don't care if it's dizziness. I don't care if it's nausea. I don't care if it's heart palpitations. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. It is all the same. Of course, please keep in mind, this is not the only thing you have to do to reset your nervous system, but it is something that I think moves the process forward more than anything else. And it's something that you always have the ability to implement because we're always reacting and responding to our symptoms. You have a bazillion chances to incorporate this and to try it and to implement it every single day, because the alternative is you looping and focusing on these symptoms and making them stronger and causing this whole situation to just keep growing and growing and growing. And next time something shows up, whatever it is, notice what you reach for and don't do that. And when you have successfully accomplished this, because I know that you will, I want you to come back to this video, or maybe you've already done this today, and I want you to drop it in the comments so that I can hype you up. Okay. I'm celebrating everybody who is moving forward despite how impossible it feels. And while I'm on the topic of hyping, I would love it if you would hype this video. Please make sure that you like this video, subscribe to this channel. This is the type of content that I'm really passionate about making because it was what helped me free myself from 20 years of chronic anxiety and then 2 years of very severe body-wide chronic pain. It works, it's efficient, and I'm just so proud of everybody who is getting their life back and changing their entire life implementing the principles that I teach here. Let me know if this video was helpful, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.